Hello, my name is Luke Waddington. I'm the CEO and co-founder of BlueFireAI. Just to go straight to the problem that we solve. Basically, we work with investment banks and with asset managers, and our job, our role and responsibility with our clients is to try and give early warning of unforeseen risk in listed companies. And so what we do is we look for the bad apple and be able to give advance warning that there may be a problem. Where did this come from? Well, about 2.5 years ago, there was a big collapse in the market of a company called Steinhoff, which cost the banks around more than $1 billion in total. So we were brought in by a major US investment bank to start to look at the mitigation of that. So this took us to look at the operational side of risk in terms of the risk officers, the risk analysts, the risk process, the data available. It also took us into the dealing room floor and speaking with trading on how they took risk onto the books and how they manage risk and price some of that the products associated with risk. And what we found was that there's a lot of high valuable resources. The systems are quite robust. They make good decisions. So why did we miss it? That becomes a central question. Why did we miss it? And this comes down to a very important word, unforeseen risk. And what we mean by unforeseen risk is that there's been an explosion in information around companies. There's lots of information out there, but it takes time to curate and distill that into these systems. So our job is to use technology at scale and at precision to try and get that information, that unforeseen information, into these processes and therefore give early warning of potential stress. Let's quickly go to the point of how do we do this. So think of us like a Fitbit on the wrist of a company, always monitoring for the health. We look at company fundamentals, the balance sheet, the cash flow statements, and we look forensically to try and find patterns of stress. We look at risk events, systemize that big task of reading around financial media reports on the company every day. And we start to put reading and sense-making technologies at play to try and systemize that into the risk process. And we do that in English. And we've also built very specific technologies to do that in Mandarin for onshore China risk. We also track the street and we look at perception changes in the company. So we track buy-side investors. And we ask the question, is there somebody out there who is transacting information that you don't know? And they've got a very good track record. We also look at analysts and we look at their ability to forecast cash flows accurately over time in that company. And we create smart cohorts that we track. We also look at market indicators and we look at the behavior of the bonds and the equities of that company. And we really ask the question here is, has the wider market started to pick this up and started to transact and sell into those assets? And really now this is where the stress is starting to materialize. So a quick introduction to the product. What we did is we didn't build a big platform and expect you to learn lots of function. What we did is put a bot on top of that called Emmeline. And Emmeline sits on top of that Fitbit. And then when you set the threshold, she tells you when you should start to intervene and start to look at a company because of elevated risk. And so this is an example of her delivering on one of those chat systems, just like a new employee joining a chat group. You can click through onto the company and then you go into a more glass box view of why and where that risk is starting to build. So then you can click through and you can see the market context of the risk of the company. And you can see some base reasoning of why there was triggers. You can also see an event feed, which is specifically curated to events that will have an impact on the company from a risk perspective. We also show a picture of the balance sheet of the company, and we show the funding of the company, the assets of the company, the operational performance of the company, and allow you to bridge into your process and go specifically to parts of the balance sheet or the company research that you would require. So this is an efficient way of getting you to your very valuable process. And we also show a portfolio view. So if you're covering 40, 50, so companies, you can quickly see where your risk is and which ones need investigation and further work to ascertain the risk. So I think that brings it to a close, and hopefully we've demonstrated how we're adding value to our clients, and we potentially could add value to you. It would be great to have that conversation, especially as we go into this sort of next economic cycle with the COVID pandemic, and that critical piece being really the understanding of the risk that you are holding. So thank you very much for your time.